So as you can see, this is a sleepover setup. I'm wearing my pajamas. I'm not wearing makeup. My hair is in a really gross bun. And I'm on my bed. I know the lighting's not great. I know the angle isn't great, but stick with me. Okay, so if you can't tell from the title, I'm going to talk about like my issues with weight, like mentally. So I grew up with like pretty overweight parents. I don't know how heavy they are, but they also grew up kind of pretty overweight, and a lot of my family is pretty tall. Like I'm the shortest. I'm 5'8". So they're pretty tall, so they're pretty portioned out, but they're still quite overweight, like especially my parents, and even my brother, even our cat is overweight and long. It's 15 pounds, God. So they grew up with that like mindset, and I think they both my parents, mostly my mom, have a lot of insecurities surrounding their weight, and throughout my life, like, they just projected those on me. So, like, I grew up with my mom saying things like, I'd be eating something because I was hungry, not because, like, I just wanted to eat, but because I was, like, legitimately hungry. My mom would be like, you don't need to eat all that, or I think you've had enough, hon, and it's like, I'm still freaking hungry. I'm gonna keep eating chicken because I want to, like, because I need to, so I don't go to bed and have to be hungry later. Or she would be like, blah, 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 so you don't end up like me. So that could be like, oh, by the way, I have notes. So that's why I'm looking here. So she would be like, oh, work out now so you don't end up like me. Or do push-ups so you don't end up with like me with bingo arms. Or things like that. Like little things, again, like projecting her insecurities on me. And she would also be like, I'd pull out a shirt and I'd be like, ooh, this is cute. And she'd be like, I don't know if that would look good on your body. Maybe someone else. And like when I was really little, I really wanted a bikini. Like, I didn't have boobs, I didn't have a butt. I was like 7 years old. I didn't even know what those things were. Couldn't even say those words. And I would be like, ooh, look at this cute little like Princess Ariel bikini. Mom, can I get it? And she'd be like, no one wants to see your tummy. Also, it exposes too much. But like the little tummy bit, like, no one cares if there's a fat kid in a bikini, just saying. I also I just constantly had my weight being pointed out by my parents. My dad would make some like little comments like every once in a while. I can't really remember any, but like it was mostly my mom. But so junior year of high school, I started going on runs like every day in the afternoon, or like evening time. And I really loved it because I've always wanted to be that person who like gets up early and goes on runs. And I'm not good at running. I'm actually quite awful at running. But I was like, oh, if I just do it enough, I'll get better. So I was going on like 3 to 4 runs a week. And I loved it. I did this for about like a month or two. But I had stopped because like every time I went out, my parents would be like, oh, you're actually working out for once. Or, ooh, health freak over here. Okay, that's not my roommate, sorry. And I felt awkward. Like, I don't like anything in my life to be, like, made a big deal out of. Like, I don't like things pointed out about me or anything like that. So I just hated it. And I also didn't want to, like, you might be thinking, oh, why didn't you just run when they weren't home? Well, that's because I live in a safe neighborhood, but we do live near some canyons, and there are some homeless people there, and we do have like one registered sex offender in our neighborhood, and I don't know, it freaked me out, and I just wanted to be able to call home if I did get into trouble, or if I got hurt, because again, I was like new to running, so if I got hurt, I could call my parents and they'd only be like 5 minutes away. But so I wanted that safety, and I do plan on running this summer. That's why I've been working out a lot recently, because I want to be able to go on runs every morning. So, my mom did try to get us like gym memberships sometimes, but it never really worked out because when I wanted to go, she wouldn't want to go. So I'd like, for my schedule, it made sense for me to like work out in the afternoon, like weekdays, and she didn't really like that. These pauses are to see if my roommate's coming in. I think we're good. And then, sorry, I just got sidetracked. And then she would only want to go on like the weekends, which again makes sense for her, but like weekend, Saturday 8 a.m. Like, I'm not getting up Saturday at 8 a.m. I'm gonna have to wake up at 5 a.m. every day. So we just had to stop doing that because it wasn't practical anymore. And like we'd spend all this money to go have a year-long membership, and we'd only use the gym like 10 times in that entire year. So it was just like a big waste of money. Okay. When my brother was like 15, and so I was like 13. Oh my god, that makes so much sense now. Sorry. I'll get to that. But he actually became pretty anorexic. So he lost about, I think, 100 pounds over the span of like maybe a year. He was doing PE like every day for school. So that did help him lose weight, but it wasn't like, but he was also skipping a lot of meals, and when he did eat, it was like really small. So, and like I could tell he was being anorexic because I was borderline anorexic. Like I don't think my brother was full on anorexic, but he definitely was borderline, and I was too at that time. That's why I said it made sense now, because I was like 12 or 13 when I wouldn't have breakfast. For lunch, I might have like a granola bar, and for dinner, I eat like that much. Like, it was nothing, and I was hungry all the time, and I was pretty miserable. And I think I did actually lose not like a ton of weight, but like a good amount of like weight. And I gained it all back in high school for good. So, and parents like encouraged it. Like, they wouldn't be like, normal parents would be like, honey, I don't think you're eating enough. But they'd be like, at dinner, if I like took a little more pasta than I normally would have, they would have been like, why are you eating so much? Like, things like that. And it wouldn't even be that much. It would just be more than I had normally been eating. So like things like that. And when I was in like first grade, this kid, we'll call him Jake, he like bullied me for like maybe a month. He called me fat like once a day. It didn't really hurt because I like knew I was fat, and it didn't really hurt my feelings that much. Like, it hurt enough so I remember it, but like, I don't know, it wasn't like a huge deal. And like, I went to middle school and high school with that kid, and I remember I hated him because of that. And then like 9th grade, we got put in like a physics lab group together, and I was like, Aiden, I don't think I've talked to you since, I just called him by his real name. Oh well. His name's Aiden. That's a super common name. Aiden, I don't think I've talked to you since like first grade when you made fun of me for being fat. And he's like, oh my god, did I seriously do that to you? And I was like, yeah, it's no big deal. And it's like, no, that I'm really sorry about that. I was going through like a rough time, and I really didn't mean it. And I was like, thank you. Like, I don't know, that was just really cool. Like, he apologized even though it happened so long ago. And so like, he apologized, but I actually went to therapy for that. Like, but because I told my mom he had been bullying me, so I went to like a couple therapy sessions, and I just talked about my mom and how my mom made me feel about my weight in those. Like, it wasn't about him. And my therapist was like, shouldn't you just like tell your mom? And I was like, nah, this is easier. I'll just tell her it's a boy at school because that makes more sense. So at the end of March, my dad had a seizure, and he went to the hospital, and they found out he had a brain tumor in between his skull and his brain, and it wasn't like inside of his brain, which was good, and it was a benign tumor. It wasn't cancerous, but they still had to get it out because it was putting so much pressure on his brain. And he was in hospital in recovery. Roommate? No. For about 6 weeks, and during that time he lost 45 pounds. And when he got out, my mom texted me and was like, hey, your dad's out of the hospital, he's doing really well, he actually lost 45 pounds, wow, I'm so jealous. And I responded like, wow, cool, glad dad's out of the hospital, but I didn't respond to the weight thing because that's not a healthy way to lose weight. He was not keeping anything down. He could only eat like not even half a sand. Like I visited, because I had to fly home because they weren't sure if my dad was going to make it. And so I flew home and like I visited him and he was only eating like half a sandwich. So that was like all he could do. And so it was not a good way to lose weight. And my mom was like, wow, I'm jealous. And I think she was probably joking, but I think I have like a closing sentence here, and I tried to read it out, but it doesn't make sense. So basically, I just grew up with all these insecurities being projected on me, and it hurt. Like, it has affected the way I see myself, and I don't blame my parents, because I understand. Like, I know that they were wanting the best for me, and maybe they thought that these comments would help, like, encourage me somehow, but they didn't, and it was not a great environment. I grew up hating my parents, mostly my mom, because of this, and it's understandable. Like, I was just thinking about it the other day. I was like, why did I hate my mom so much? And then I realized it was this, and I forgive them. Like, I do. But I think it's just interesting to look at why I have these issues with my weight, even though I've never been super unhealthy. So, yeah. That's what I think about my weight. I think I have been losing weight because I've been going to the gym so much, but weight doesn't matter. I just want to feel healthy. Okay. And that's what matters. Be healthy. Love your body. Clear up your skin. Maybe someday we'll get to that. I'm trying, guys.